Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Girls Lounge podcast with your hosts, Liz and KT. And today we are back with a good episode. We are going to be reflecting on our college experience. We are so sorry for not talking with you guys last week, but your girl was sick. So, with that being said, we'll just get into the intro. So, last time since I talked to you guys, I got sick. I was sick for about a week and I was not doing well. I don't even know how I got sick. So far, we think the story, according to me and my mom, is that my dad got us sick. My dad doesn't think he got us sick, but I do believe he got us sick. But we're over that now. We're feeling good. And then I also saw a movie with one of my friends, Joe. We saw Sinners. Finally, we literally saw it the last day. It was in our movie theaters in our small little town. Literally the last showing. So we literally saw the last showing and it was pretty good. But I'll get into my thoughts of that movie later. And then I actually went to a graduation over this past weekend to see my cousins graduate. And who did I see? Elizabeth. I was shook. And I just have to flex because out of all my friends, I was the first one to see and speak to her in person. So I was happy about that. And then the day after that, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure the day after that, I saw Jill again and we played some pickleball. It was the first pickleball session of the summer. And this time, I actually played like pickleball the real way. Jill taught me. She was giving me pointers. I was like, good, because girl, the past couple times I played, like we was just hitting the ball, just trying to get it over the net. Like me and my mom, me and my brother, we just played with no rules. So I'm glad that I kind of, know the rules. Hopefully next time I play, I remember them. And then today, actually, I had a pretty productive day. You guys don't know this, but all my friends know this. I have been trying to wake up early for weeks, for days, and it has been unsuccessful. And today it was actually successful. Woke up, did my workout, got ready. I'm like low key being an intern for my mom this summer, and basically she wants to sell some paper chef items on the internet. So today I started doing the inventory for that. So that was fun. I feel like a real like business person doing inventory. And then me and her went out to run some errands. I got some driving practice in, and now here I am filming the podcast with Elizabeth. I'm surprised I've been like going all day without a nap, but that's what I've been up to.
And well, if you weren't able to tell by me seeing Kennedy in person or like the change in the background, if you're watching on video, I'm back home now. Bittersweet feelings, honestly. I had to leave Spain, and let's just say I was going through it. I'm glad to be back home because I did miss like my family, my friends. We have a hangout planned soon, so excited for that. But just like my bed, I forgot how much I missed my bed, you guys. Like when I laid down on it, I was like, this is heavenly. Not that my bed in Spain wasn't comfortable. It just wasn't my bed, you know? It wasn't my mattress, but happy to be back. But at the same time, it is bittersweet being back too. And like, it just feels surreal that like the past 5 months are over, you know? But my flight back, our long flight back was actually like super empty. Me and my friend that flew back together, we were able to get it was one of those planes that has like three sections or whatever it's called, and we were able to get two aisle seats in the middle, so we basically had the whole row to ourselves. We were able to lay our legs out, and I watched a couple movies. I'll talk about that later on. And then our flight was delayed a bit, which impacted our second flight, and we did have to do some speed walking in the airport, but all was well. Made our flights and back in good old Kentucky. But yeah, missing Spain at the same time. And just like today when I was like driving around, I was like, it's crazy how oh no, it was when I went on a walk this morning because jet lag is getting to me, and I've been waking up between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. every single day. But honestly, I don't mind it because I'm gonna get into that routine and everything. But I went on a walk this morning and I was like just thinking how like crazy how this time last week I would go on walks and it'd be the ocean. Literally the Mediterranean Ocean would be my view. And now it's just houses and cars and dogs barking and squirrels running. That is my view now. That's just really crazy to think about.
And hearing the cicadas. But I just have to say, I'm selfishly glad that Elizabeth is back. And it's crazy, like these 5 months, just as an outside perspective, I'm like, wait, how is Liz back already? But at the same time, I'm like, it's good. She needs to be home.
Yeah, I needed to snap back into reality, I guess. unless, maybe that European lifestyle is meant for me, just saying. But yeah, really really even like living it, it's crazy how like literally blink and snap your fingers and you're back home. That's just crazy to think about. But the cicadas, yeah, I don't know if the cicadas where you guys like our listeners, I don't know if you guys have cicadas going on, but basically it's like here in Kentucky, my house, I swear it's cicada central out here. We're inside watching TV and you can hear them. Like there was one, I got in the car the other day and one was on my shirt and I just heard like that loud buzzing in my ear. Yeah, cicada central at my home. They're like out here.
Yeah, when me and my mom were out today, there's like a whole bunch just flying around, hitting the car window. I'm like, dang, we have them really bad this summer. But yeah, so pray for us in Kentucky.
And with that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our favorites of the week. So I'll go ahead and take it away. My favorites of the week are two things. First, my Birkenstocks, you guys. Let's just say when I was in Spain, I've been wearing the same pair of shoes for the past 5 months, and my Birkenstocks didn't make the cut. So when I came back and I found them and I just like wore them, I was like, I miss this feeling of shoes being molded to your foot, but then also just like all the shoes that I have home. Very much I have not touched any of the shoes that I had when I was abroad. I can't see them for the time being. I need some time apart from them. And then my second favorite of the week is my books. I am on my book grind and I recently finished a series which I had been looking forward to the series so much, and it's the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And I originally wanted to read this series, right? But there's like this other series that's before it that technically they're not connected, but it's recommended that you read the first series, Carval, first before you read Once Upon a Broken Heart. And let me just tell you guys, if you're looking for a book to read, cough cough Kennedy, this series is it. Add both of the series, read them in that order because it is so worth it. I finished all 6 books the other day and it was so good. Like all I need to say is Jackson Evangeline. Yeah, that's all I need to say.
I will check out those books later. And my favorite of the week has been ChatGPT. When I tell you guys, I use this as my fave since this is the college episode, but I legit it has been carrying me recently. It carried me throughout the last bit of college, which I'm like, how did I even do college without her? And then just like recently, just when I was like trying to figure out like how to set up a spreadsheet earlier, I was like, chat, give me what I need. And I know, I understand the ethics. It's not the best, but at the same time, wow, I love you, chat GPT.
That part, the way I just go to chat for reassurance, it's chat is my added bestie, always with me. Can't avoid me at any times.
No, for real. Chat is just honestly what we need, even though sometimes I do think chat, he began chat is a boy. Because sometimes he don't listen. And sometimes he doesn't give you what you want, but when he does work, he does his thing.
Chat be having an attitude. He's feisty.
No, for real, especially Elizabeth's chat. But enough about chat. We are gonna get into the sports corner, so we can have like a lot to get into, but not really. We're gonna try to make it as quick as possible and not confusing. But so obviously the last race weekend was the Monaco GP, and obviously we didn't have an episode, but we're not gonna talk about that today. But I was happy to see Lando win. And this past weekend it was the Spain GP in Barcelona. Yes, Barcelona. I'm like, wow, right after Liz left, it happened. But yeah, so honestly, I don't really have much to say for the weekend, but in quality, I was sad because Yuki, Carlos, and Franco all got knocked out in Q1. I was like, no! One, because the home race curse is real. And then Yuki, just because, I just want to see him do well in that Red Bull. And then I just want to see Franco do well in the Alpine. But that just didn't happen. But the results of quality were Oscar P1, Lando P2, Max P3. And then before like the actual race, Lance Stroll actually pulled out of the Spanish Grand Prix because he has to get surgery on his wrist. And I didn't realize it was from his same injury. Like if you know, if you've been in the sport or have watched all the seasons of Drive to Survive. Back in the 2023 season, Lance Stroll had a bike accident where he had to get surgery, took time off, and I guess he has still had complications with it till this day. And so finally, he has to get surgery on it. And I was like a little confused. I'm like, well, why isn't there a reserve driver being put in, but I was listening to a podcast today, and in order for the reserve driver to be like racing the actual race, they have to compete in quali, and obviously Lance did quali. So yeah, that kind of sucks for like the reserve driver, but I'm just curious on what that position is gonna look like in the future. Like, who is their reserve driver? I don't even know. But yeah, I know they're probably hyped, to be honest. And then on to the race. So again, I don't really have much to say. I feel like it was a pretty tame race towards the end. So the race, it was a McLaren 1-2, Oscar P1, Lando P2, and Claire P3, which honestly I was hoping for a Lewis podium because I got a glimmer of hope when Lewis was P3 during quali towards the end, but then Max took it obviously. But I was like, honestly, dream podium, McLaren and Ferrari, I'm happy, but hopefully Lewis gets through next time. I would say the biggest thing towards the end of the races or before the last couple laps of the race was Antonelli had a DNF, tier, engine failure. I'm like, Mercedes, what are we doing here? What is going on? Which there is actually a funny video where Toto was being interviewed and he was like, and someone asked him, like, what can you take away from these weeks? And he was like, suffering. I was like, I feel it. I'm not even a Mercedes fan, but as someone who likes Antonelli and George, I understand. Because the same thing happened to George. And then Albon DNF'd. I'm pretty sure he like ended up getting in contact and he like broke his front wing like 2 times. And they're like, just retire the car. But the biggest story from this race is the Max and George drama. So long story short, this was like a 2 to 3 pit stop race, I think. I can't remember if Max did 2 or 3, but he was on like his last pit stop and he only had the hard tire left, which tires is like a whole thing, but for this track they just wouldn't hold up the best. And so Max was already mad. And then something happened with George. They made contact and he should have something happened and Max should have gave him the position back, but he didn't. And George thought he was, so George was going to pass him, but Max just didn't move and he was being a meanie. And the crash happened, which ended in Max getting a 10-second penalty. So he actually ended the race in P10. So yeah, that was crazy. And I love when Max and George beef. I'm gonna be so honest. Like, we all know that iconic moment from Abu Dhabi last night, or not last night, last season, where George is having that whole speech. They're going on the whole press tour about how bad Max was, and I ate it up.
I ate up the drama too. I'm so glad it's continuing into this new season. I really, really hope that the Drive to Survive show picks it up this time because last season, if you know, they didn't mention it a single episode. So I'm really hoping they pick it up on it this season. But also, with Max's penalty, I was seeing stuff about how he is 1 point away from being, I don't know if they would say benched, but from being benched from a race, from not being able to drive, because the points expire at the end of the month. And if he gets one more like point penalty or whatever, then he is going to be benched from a race, which I think will be really interesting because low key, 1 point I feel like is pretty easy for him to gain, especially it being Max, and we know when he gets a little upset, when he's not having his way, he does be a little reckless.
Yeah, I saw that news too. I know Kevin Magnussen last season ended up getting banned from a couple races because of his points. So I wonder how much this is really going to affect Max. Like, I don't think Max cares at all. Like, I know George was like, he was like, there are like little kids watching this, like Max should be acting like that. And Max was like, well, bring them some tissues next time. Like, he does not care. So there was like a statement put out today for Max. I don't think it was written for Max, where he's basically like, I made the wrong move, blah blah blah. But we'll just see. I mean, I love their drama. I'm here for it. I'm like coming around to just like Max as a character, and I just love this drama. So we'll be set. We're quickly going to like just recap the points from Monaco and Spain. So hold on, let me scroll real quick. Sorry, guys. Okay, so from Spain, Elizabeth has 69 points. Me, TBD. We'll get back to you guys after the next race. But Elizabeth, she got -10 points because she had Kimi Antonelli, and then because he didn't know, but Pierre Gasly helped, and then she gained whatever 4 plus 3 is, so she now has 69 points. So she really just lost like 2 points, but it's fine. And then leaving Monaco, I had Pierre Gasly and Kimi Antonelli, so I didn't gain any points. But we'll get back to you guys after Canada what my updated points are. And then after Canada, me and Liz will like redraw. The drivers will restart because we would have had everyone twice, kind of. I kind of messed up, but by getting Charles twice, but we're just going to ignore that.
I find it really interesting. She was in the lead for a while and she had Charles twice. Interesting.
Well, you're the one that drew for me, so it's actually your fault, Liz.
Anyways,
And then just quickly, our drivers for the Canadian GP, which is not this weekend. Thankfully, we get a weekend off. I need a break, and I'm not even a driver. So Elizabeth has Lance Stroh and Franco Colapinto, which it actually won't be Lance Stroh. It'll be his reserve driver, but the thought still counts.
and then Kennedy has Fernando Alonso and she has Alex Albon.
Yeah, I'm happy with those two.
And now we're gonna go ahead and move on to our pop culture segment. The last time we recorded, the girlies they're being silent. There was nothing going on. But they made up for it because we got a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack here. So first up is Taylor Swift. She owns the rights to all of her original songs, music videos, everything and everything is now hers. And as a Swiftie, I have been waiting for this moment. I can finally listen to Debut and Reputation without feeling guilty that I am giving money to someone that shouldn't be getting the money.
And as a person who is not necessarily a Swiftie but enjoys her music, I'm low key selfish. I'm like, wait, there's no new stuff coming. Even though it's technically old stuff, but like just re-recorded. But I'm like, honestly, this is good. So then she's probably been tired of like pre-recording or re-recording stuff, and she just wants to make new music. So if that means new music is coming, I'm sad, and thank God she finally got her music back. Honestly, it took way too long for that to happen.
And in her little statement, she said that like Debut is already all re-recorded, like all the vault tracks. I'm so excited for the vault tracks in that album just because it's like music where she originally started writing. So I'm like intrigued by that. And then she did say Reputation. She hasn't really like touched it, but I feel like that makes sense because that was like a really dark point in her life. So like I wouldn't want to go back and like think about those moments. But yeah, I
Yeah,
will
that's
be missing
valid. Yeah, that's valid. And I know a lot of people want it rep TV. Like I've seen all the theories about it, but yeah. But at least the good news is all the Swifties, y'all can listen to her music guilt free. And then next in news, continuing just the good news with females in business, I guess you can say. Hailey Bieber sold Rhode to Elf Beauty for 1 billion, which is like good for her because we didn't cover this last week because I think it literally happened like right after we recorded our last episode. But we all know Justin Bieber basically said that he hates his wife. He said that he couldn't imagine her on Vogue, and he just totally ruined that moment. So for this news to come out next, I think that was really good. And if you're not a business girl, you might be confused on what this means, but basically, Elf Beauty and Elf Cosmetics are like two different things, or like Elf Beauty is like the parent company, and so that is what bought Rhode. So she's gonna help Rhode just be more available. I know a lot of people think the formula is gonna change. I don't think so. I just think Elf is gonna help them just be more accessible to people. Like I know they're coming to Sephora soon, which I'm really happy about. But yeah, I just think that's a really good move for that company.
I agree because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, haven't tried it out because you can't get it in store. And I don't like shipping everything.
Yeah, and low key, like I feel like shipping makeup is kind of risky.
Exactly, because like you can't try it out. Like it's just not the same. And then you gotta like, if it doesn't work out, you have to return it. It's just too much to do.
I agree, and I feel like things can get tricky, and yeah, we don't want all that mess. And then the next piece of news I just thought would be like funny. It's kind of like tea, but Fifth Harmony is rumored to be making a return with a tour and documentary, but without the rat, aka Camila Cabello, which is the Girls Lounge podcast #1 enemy. We do not like her over here. So the fact that they're gonna be rumored to make a return without her, just honestly, it made me laugh. It made me smile.
I hadn't heard this news, and It made me laugh. It made me smile here on camera, hearing it for the first time. Um, I find it funny. Sean's also going on tour soon, so keep the rat far away. Keep her busy.
Yeah, I saw that he's going on tour. I'm like, I hope he doesn't cancel this one.
A rough moment for him.
Yeah, I just throw shade and we just move on. Okay. And then next, we're going to get into some TV news. So, the Love Island season 7 cast just got revealed, and why is there already drama? So, it turns out two cast members are Trumpers, and it's just funny because the internet is coming together and they're like, yeah, we're going to vote them off. So, I'm really excited to see if that happens.
I'm really waiting for, honestly, like they shouldn't have cast them, but I'm so intrigued for what like everybody, like the actual cast members' reactions are going to be to interacting with them.
Same. And also, the girl, it's a girl and a boy. The girl, there's more videos that came out today of her saying the N word on a podcast, and if you guys couldn't catch on, she is not black. Um, so that's just like, ooh, first you're a Trumpy and then you're saying a racial slur. Yeah, things are not gonna end up good for you. But yeah, I'm like, I might just have to tune in, see what the vibe is. I'm hoping they couple up together, so kill two birds with one stone.
I was exactly thinking the same thing, Kennedy. I think I'm going to be tuning in this season. And then another thing, an eternity in the making. I don't even know how many years in the making, but Stranger Things season 5, the dates of release were announced. Why are they doing 3 parts? I don't really like the 3 parts thing. I'm intrigued by how many episodes there's going to be because Netflix shows are typically like 10 episodes. So are we going to get like 3 episodes? Because what is that, Netflix? But also all I'm saying is Netflix better count their days if my man Steve Harrington is harmed. If they touch a hair on his body, it is over for them.
Oh, I am in the same boat as Liz. One, hate the 3 drop thing. It's the last season. Just give it to us all at once. Like, please. Why make us suffer? Especially during the holidays. You're dead wrong. And then, yeah, if they touch a single hair on Steve Harrington's body, oh, I will be flying to California. I'm pretty sure that's where they're headquartered. And I'll be talking to the CEO of Netflix. Okay? That's all you guys need to know.
And they will also be getting my list of complaints of everything else that they've ever done wrong. But most importantly, they better not touch Steve.
Yes, and now that we know the dates, I am ready to start my rewatch very soon.
Exactly. Another reason to ask chat, how should I plan my rewatch?
No, for real. I'm like, maybe I should start it on the drive up to the beach.
And that's the perfect segue into what we've been watching. So, I've actually been watching stuff, you guys. I know sometimes I'll be slacking, but my flight back home, I watched a few things, 8-hour flight, had the TVs. What else was I supposed to do? So I watched Conclave the movie. I actually quite enjoyed it. I know a lot of people like didn't really like it too much, but I liked it. And I thought it was interesting how it like depicted all the behind the scenes stuff of like electing the Pope and everything. And then I watched something else, but I can't remember for the life of me. Oh, it just came to me, guys. I watched Wicked. I rewatched Wicked. Such a great movie. So excited for part 2 to drop this year. And then I started watching White Lotus season 1. I've never watched White Lotus, but I know Kennedy and our friend Ariana are always talking about it. So I was like, let me watch this. Let me see what this is about. And I'm very intrigued. I need to continue watching it because I didn't finish it. But I feel like at some point, obviously, the plots are going to intertwine. And I feel like I was almost at the part. I was at the part, Kennedy, where they're out partying. The husbands, what's his name? The guy from Divergent, that actor. They were out like partying and everything, and the wives are at that one house. That's where I left off at.
Is that season 2 or in season 1?
I thought it was season 1, but I could be lying.
What country are you in?
They're in Italy.
Okay, yeah, that's season 2.
Oh, not the plain lying to me. So season 2, you guys, is what I watched.
Dang, you watch it fast.
Only season 2 is what I watched.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Season 2, that was such a good season. And then for what I've been watching, so honestly not much, but I did watch Sinners, like I said earlier. I'm gonna try to give quick rundown of my thoughts because I'm sure by this point you guys have all heard like 50 million people's takes on this movie. Based on just like the movie itself, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I thought it did a really good job of depicting just kind of like Black history throughout the film, while also mixing in like horror elements a little bit. I will say I am just not a vampire girly. Like I don't know, like so that was kind of like a thing that I didn't like about the movie. Like I didn't like hate it, but like vampires are just like whatever to me. I don't know why. I've just have always been that way. So that's probably why it's a 4 out of 5. It, like the movie didn't blow me away, but I really did like it, and I thought the cinematography was really good. I thought like the messaging in the movie was really easy to pick up on. Now, when it comes to like a horror scale, I feel like it was really marketed as like a horror movie, but like on a horror scale out of 5, I would give it maybe like a 3 out of 5. Like there were some parts where I was like, oh my gosh, like, and like I was like, ugh, like I jumped a little bit, but like I there weren't like any parts where I felt like genuinely scared. I don't like it is a horror movie, but it isn't like the type of horror that you're thinking of like The Conjuring or things like that. So, if you're one of those people that are like, "Oh, I don't want to see this movie because it might be too scary," like you'll literally be fine. But yeah, it was a really good movie. I just really liked how they tied in like the history and just like the own just story of like the actual movie. It was all very interesting. Oh, and also, another reason why it is a 4 out of 5. I don't know if this makes me a prude, but I just honestly didn't really like the sexual nature of the movie. It just felt a little out of place, maybe, like the things they were saying. I was listening to the Lone Lobos podcast talk about this aspect, and I feel like the way they were talking about it is kind of like how I feel. They were basically just like, it kind of took out the movie because kind of what they were saying was almost kind of very modern feeling. And it was just like, wait, but this is from like the 1930s, whatever, like what? But again, I did think this movie did show a very real story of, just like Black life and Black history in America. So I did like that. And then I watched Fear Street Prom Queen because my man Cam Cameron is in it, and that movie was bad. Do not watch it. But I love the other Fear Street movies, so I was really excited for this one. But I was just like, okay, like this is not a good movie. And I just felt like what I was missing was like the juiciness of like why we're murdering people. And then when they revealed the murderers, I was like, really? This is stupid. So I do not recommend that movie. Save your time. But if you do like Kim Cameron and you're like, I want to watch it for him, he did look really good in that movie. So
Not Cam Cameron. I started rewatching and making my mom watch The Summer I Turned Pretty, and we just got to the scene of Cam Cameron, so.
I'm a Kim Cameron stan over here, if you couldn't tell. But now, since the summer turned pretty had good songs, perfect segue into our song of the week. We're just gonna say it this week instead of playing it for you guys. But honestly, I wanted to dedicate my song of the week to be towards like a song that like really got me through like college, that I listened to a lot during like my early years of college. And honestly, my whole depression playlist carried me. Like I'm not even gonna lie, like it had some bops on there, but I would say like the main song that like I can remember that like I just played a lot in my early years was Alien Blues by Von Dar. I remember I heard that song on TikTok and then I listened to it and it was really like my most played song of 2022, which would have been like the end of my freshman year going into my sophomore year. But special shout out to Wallows and Olivia Rodrigo because their song also carried me through college. Like literally my raps from like 2022, 2021, 2023 is like all Wallows and Olivia Rodrigo.
And my song of the week, I was listening a lot to this study abroad goodbye playlist that we made, and the song from mine is Where'd All the Time Go. I didn't write down who sings the song, but like y'all know what song it is. You if you don't know what universe you've been in, but that song just really like encompassed my feelings.
Yeah, that's a very good song. Actually, at the graduation we were at, they played a video with that song. I don't know if you paid attention to that part.
Yes, I did. I was a little confused on the video, but I
Yeah, me too. I was like, so was this just a friend group or like is the whole class in this?
that part, Kennedy, it was giving the like I don't know if at your guys' high schools, but at ours they did. It was the people who did the yearbook was very much like featured in every single page of the yearbook. That's exactly what that video was giving.
No, literally that. But we're on the topic of yearbooks, school, and we are done with school basically because we have graduated college. wow, did these 4 years fly by fast? Um, like, I think it is June. I graduated in May. Liz graduated, well, she walked the stage in the winter. And I think we both were still processing that, like, we have, like, bachelor's degrees. Like, the only option afterwards is the workforce or grad school. I'm going to grad school. Liz, she just got back from study abroad. Give her a break. So, yeah, we're just going to be talking about our college experience today. And hopefully you could resonate. We're just going to be talking about just like simple things about our college experience, things we've learned. Shout out ChatGPT for helping me make a guideline for this episode because I didn't even know where to start.
You know, at this point, chat should just sponsor this episode. They should just hit us up because you're a walking ad for them.
No, for real, they should be paying me. And please, I need the money. And so we're just gonna get right into it. Just a simple intro, where we went to college and what our majors were. So I was not me blinking, literally what I just got a degree in. Okay. I was a marketing major with a concentration in social media, and I went to Western Kentucky University. Go Hilltoppers!
That is so crazy to say I was a something major. But I was a political science international studies major, and then I had a minor in Spanish, and then I went to Northern Kentucky University.
Period. And where did you go to school when you studied abroad?
Oh, I forgot I went to two schools. Technically, actually, funny story. I was enrolled through WKU. Like, I had to do the WKU application stuff to get my credits. But in Spain, it was Universidad de Alicante, University of Alicante.
Period. And I also forgot to mention, I did not actually go to Western Kentucky my freshman year. Freshman year, I was at Eastern Kentucky University. Boo! No, I was playing. A good school, but just wasn't for me. But we'll get into that later. But the way chat set this up, first we're gonna talk about a little bit about our freshman year. So the first question that we're gonna answer is, what were we like going into college? And I'll let Liz take that away.
So I feel like I was a nervous, very introverted. Not that that's like changed too much, like the introverted part, but I was very introverted, very nervous. And I was the first, like, I'm the oldest in my family. And I was the first to like have that moving into college experience. So it was very much like full of firsts for me. I had no idea what I was doing, no idea what I was packing. I truly, truly felt like a little fish in the ocean. But that's how I was going in. I wasn't like I was nervous obviously, but I was more so nervous for like the being on my own, being away from my family, and not so nervous I feel like for classes itself. And honestly, I feel like my high school classes that I took prepared me for college. Like I feel like I didn't struggle too much in the academic transition wise of it, but like in the like home and everything, I feel like I was very, very, very nervous for that.
Yeah, quickly before I go into what I was like, I definitely agree. For me, academic, like I honestly, like obviously I had times where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is hard. But like I never really felt like, oh my gosh, like high school did not prepare me. Like I honestly like did not really struggle that much on that aspect. But personally, that's another problem. But when I was like, honestly, I was a wreck, you guys. I was a mess. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just felt like I was all over the place. I felt like I was low key living in like Delulu land maybe a little bit. I remember being one of the first, not being one of the first, literally the first one out of our group to actually like move in and have my first day of school, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I was definitely a lot different. I mean, still the same, but like different. Like I was extremely shy, extremely quiet, which I still am, but like this was premedicated me. So it was a whole nother me. I don't know. I just had a whole different outlook. Like I don't even think at that point I really knew that I wanted to be a marketing major. Like I think I was like, oh, like I'm gonna be like a forensic scientist or something. Like I truly I was a mess. So yeah, that's what I was like. Not very confident and yeah. And now next is expectations versus reality.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm like really trying to like think of concrete expectations that I have, and I can't think of too many other than just like the idea of college. I feel like the whole environment of college, my expectation of it was very much kind of like the movies. I felt like the way classes worked, like the seminar, like hundreds of students in a class, one professor at the front, and then just like all the like actual students very much like party 24/7 or like I don't know, like the sorority life being super prominent. That was like the typical movie experience and TV show experience. That was my expectation going in. And reality was like completely the opposite of that. In my school, it might be like different in different schools, obviously, but like I didn't go to school like deep in the South. So like sorority and stuff like that, it wasn't like super prominent. Like obviously they were a thing, but it wasn't like you see in the movies. And then just my classes were all way smaller. Like I think my biggest class was 40 students or something. Like it wasn't crazy big classes and crazy big lecture rooms. It very much felt, I don't want to say it felt like high school because it didn't, but like the class, like going to school and being with professors and anything, that kind of environment kind of felt similar just because I feel like I took a lot of like AP classes and like advanced classes and things like that. So I feel like that really like prepared me for that. And then it wasn't like the movies. It just felt like real life.
Yeah, my answer is the exact same as Elizabeth. I just thought going into college it would be like the movies. I would just make friends instantly and I would just have everything figured out and I just yeah, exactly like the movies. There would be parties all the time and classes would be a certain way and it just wasn't like that at all. Not in necessarily a bad way, but it's just like, oh, this is not what college is. Like college is way different. And also like not even just like what you see in movies, but also like because y'all know I'm a YouTube girly, but I would say like all these YouTube girlies just living their best lives in college, and that was not my experience at all. And that kind of made me sad at one point. But then I realized like no, like everyone's college experience is different, and that's literally okay. So yeah, I would say literally the same as Elizabeth. I thought it was gonna be like the movies where you're just living it up all the time, but that was not the case for me.
That just reminded me of that like typical scene in the movies where they're like at that like freshman fair and like the two girls run into each other and they're like, "Oh my gosh." And then they become instant besties and then not only do they become instant friends, but they continue being friends like all throughout their college experience and journey. Yeah, that just like I just thought of that for some reason.
And honestly, even when I watch shows now that are based in college, I'm like, wow, this is nothing like how it really is. But the next thing we can talk about is just like moving in, our first night in college, and like roommate stories and just dealing with homesickness.
For me, I lived my freshman year. It was kind of like an apartment style building. Um, and it was a two-bedroom with like four of us in each, not four of us, four of us total, two of us in each room, and like shared bathroom. We had like a kitchen, living room, that kind of stuff. So it was very like apartment style. And I was the first one of the four of us to move in because I moved in early for a Latino camp thing. And so when I moved in, and I like unpacked and everything. It didn't feel like real for me. It like really settled in when like my family left. I know like with my family from what my mom's told me, she told me like my dad was like going through it. My siblings are going through it too, kind of. But like I was also like that was I'd never been like permanently, I feel like, far from my family in that sense. So that was like really really crazy to think about and like to experience. And I was also like alone cuz like I moved in a week early before everyone. So it was kind of like a little lonely, But I really like that like weekend that I moved in early, I really settled in with my feelings of just like being away from home, from my hometown, from my friends, from my family. And I did feel homesickness at the same time. I remember I think I came home like the first weekend after like that like freshman week, like welcome week type stuff. I like went home for the weekend and I did feel like homesickness, but I feel like I didn't like know that I was feeling homesickness. Like looking back on it, I'm like I was feeling homesick. But like in the moment I wasn't like accepting that I was feeling homesick. And then I'll let you go Kennedy before we go into the roommate stories.
Honestly, I feel like I like blocked out a lot of my freshman year, so I can't even really remember mostly like what moving in my first night was. I feel like I didn't cry my first night. I will say I was a lot closer to home my freshman year, so I feel like I honestly didn't really feel homesickness until I transferred schools, which was a lot further away. But yeah, I honestly didn't feel any homesickness. I feel like moving in, I did kind of, I don't know, like the first day was good, but I feel like because it's a freshman orientation, that was when I kind of was having a little bit of inkling of doubts that like, I'm not sure if this was the place for me. So I was like just feeling very like I was really feeling the growing pains of transitioning from the high school life to college and just being on my own. And my roommate situation was, so at first I thought I was gonna be like one of the crappiest dorms, but actually getting like one of the nicest dorms on campus. And it was basically me and my roommate. We shared a room. It was really big, and we had a bathroom that connected to another room. So it was called like a suite. So I had suite mates, and our bathroom was really nice. There was like a shower room, and then there was like the sinks and the mirrors, and then another room for the bathroom. So it was very nice, and it had like racks for us to like hang our towels and stuff. And just to like get into the roommates, I swear I had the worst luck with roommates my whole college experience. So for my freshman year, even before I had those suite mates, I was supposed to be with this one girl and as my actual like roommate for this suite, and she was on the dance team, so she ended up dropping out like last minute to room with people on her dance team instead, which like I totally get that. And my other two suite mates, they were on like the cheer team as well. So like I was kind of like, dang, like no one's gonna be here. Which I was like, dang, I'm gonna have like no one to go through college with, these first few days. And then like a couple of days before moving, I think this girl texted me or like EKU might have like emailed me that I was getting a roommate. So I kind of connected with her, and then we actually like, we were always like, oh, you want to do something, blah blah blah. And so she was like my person for like the orientation days, but then literally like the third day of school, second day of school, I wake up and she's packing up to move out because she's dropping out of college. And I was like, oh, okay. And then a couple weeks happened. Then I got another roommate. She was my roommate for most of the year. And then she did eventually too end up moving back home and dropping out of school. So if that tells you anything about my roommate experience. So yeah, that was mine. It wasn't that bad. I just had a lot of turnaround, and I just did not form a connection with my roommate or my suite mates because they were literally never there. So just imagine me going through this transition and I'm just like by myself navigating all this like alone because no one's there.
For me, I had so I didn't know like any of the girls that I was moving in with. And then the one that I was like actual roommates with, we like got along really well. We had very similar interests. We were actually like never really coincide being in the room at the same time other than like when we were going to bed, cuz during the day she would like go to class and she had work and everything, or I would just be like out with my friends and stuff. So I wasn't in the room too much, but like whenever we were like going to bed or like watching TV or something, we would like talk and it'd be like totally chill. Like we'd have very similar interests and everything. And then my suite mates, one of them, she would go home like every single weekend, I feel like, or she just was never there. She was never there, or if she was there, she was silent. I never like really heard her, but she was like nice and everything. And then I had another roommate. She was always there, but she always had people over. And this, I feel like, yes, me like freshman year is something that I should have like addressed earlier. But she would always have people over. She would never text about it, never give like a heads up. So like there was like one time when I like woke up to like leave the room, and because we had like a little like mini living room with couches, right? And there was just like a random like guy like sleeping on the couch. And I was just like, what is going on? Like that is so weird. I also like never like confronted her about it, which like my advice if you're listening to this going to college, confront them, like just speak to them. This was me being like little freshman me, but I was like I would avoid being in the common area of my dorm because there would always just be random people, I feel like. And if there wasn't people, there would always be a mess. She would just leave a mess, never wash the dishes, never like offer to clean. Like she was just like a messy person. And after that, the rest of my college experience, I became an RA and I had my own room. So never dealt with roommates again or sleepmates.
Yeah, I would say biggest tip for roommate etiquette, I believe you should give your roommate a head up, especially if you're in a combined space where it's like literally just y'all's two bed in the room, or even if y'all just share common areas, like it's just decent courtesy. Like you obviously, I don't think you necessarily have to ask permission for people over, like your own person, but give people a heads up. I just think it's rude. Like I remember one time I just wanted to rest before like going to do some work for my library my sophomore year, so at WKU, and my roommate just decided to bring someone over. And I was like, oh, great. And so instead of resting, I left and went to the library to do some work. And it would just be so awkward because like especially like when your roommate didn't introduce you, so it's just like you're in my room, the shared space, I didn't even know you were coming over. So yeah, I would say give like your roommate a heads up. And then next is, what would you tell your freshman self?
I would tell my freshman self to speak up. Not only like obviously like in the roommate situation, 100%. Like even when I was like an RA and I would like to, like have roommate issues, I'd always like our first floor meeting, I would always tell them, y'all need to communicate, y'all need to speak to each other. But yeah, just like in general though, just being okay with like letting your voice being heard and everything. I feel like I've definitely like from little I still am introverted and I feel like that's just like part of who I am. I feel like I've definitely not as much as I was my freshman year, but just speaking up and then just going out and trying new things, going to all the events, doing what you want to do, going to those weird organizations, if you are interested, go because there's people that are going to also like be have those niche interests and everything, but just putting yourself out there because when you put yourself out there you'll get like more out of it is what I would say.
I agree with that. And then for me, I would say it's gonna be okay. Freshman year, all I honestly can remember is me going through it. Like, to be honest with you guys, like that was definitely a very transformative year into like that is one of those years where it's like you like when you think like what made you you, that year is what I think contributes to the way I am today. And I'll just tell myself it's okay and to not be so freaking nervous. It's okay to take up space. You are a human. You belong here. You have a voice. Use it. And you have a purpose and you'll find your way. It just takes time. And that's really what happens. I'll just tell my freshman year self that. And then next, honestly, this question was more for me than Liz. But it is, did you ever consider transferring or changing majors?
I did not ever consider transferring. I did sometimes like picture myself like in my with my friends from home and everything and like their campuses or like what it would be like if I like had chosen to go to like I don't know, University of Kentucky or something and like being with like Jill and stuff like that. But I never considered transferring completely and then changing majors. I never once considered changing my major. I loved my major. I loved all my classes. Do I know what I want to do right now? No, but I don't regret my major in the moment or anything.
Yeah, for me, I mean, if you haven't picked up, I did transfer schools. I literally said it earlier, but changing majors, no, because I literally went into college undecided. And then I was like, once I did research, I was like, yep, this is what I want to do, social media marketing. And that's what I ended up. And I ended up really loving the classes I took later on when I took marketing classes. Did I ever consider transfer? Yes, and I did it. And that is one of the best decisions I ever made instead of letting myself suffer for 4 years because I really was going back and forth through the whole transferring process. Like, honestly, in the beginning, I was like, do I really, like, can I really sit through the way I feel for 4 years? Like, can I just suck it up or do I really need to leave? And I ultimately decided to leave after doing some research. And when it came to actually where I was going to school, I looked at every single school again, what they had to offer. And I was like, wait, what if I do went and go to college with one of my friends because at EKU I had no one. And again, WKU was a contender again, but I was like, but again, I have no one there. But I was like, you know, first, all my friends have their own college lives at their own colleges, so I never wanted to be like go there and have them like have like I didn't want them to feel like just because I'm going to their school now that they have to like include me in their new friend groups and their new life. And I was like, I don't know necessarily if these schools would even necessarily be my vibe, but I did look through all my choices and I ultimately did decide on WKU because I just felt like I don't know, at that point I just think I wanted to be far, far away. Honestly, I think that's what it was. I just was desperate for a big change because I just hated being at Eastern. Like there's so many reasons. I just didn't like it. It just the environment was just not for me. Like I genuinely did not think it was a bad school, but that environment was just not for me. The people there, yeah, and just the curriculum, I just did not. I feel like I just did not fit in. I feel like people acted like I didn't exist. I felt like it just wasn't my place. I feel like people like were like scared to talk to me almost. It's very weird. But yeah, so did I ever consider? Heck yeah, and it was one of the best decisions ever. So if you're listening to this episode, and you're like, I kind of want to transfer, I would say definitely look into your options if you really like feel that need to transfer, then do it.
And now we're going to go ahead and move into a couple questions for just sophomore year to the end, to senior year, and talk about like our growth and how far we've come from little freshman us. So our first little question from chat is, how did we change during this time, Kennedy?
I would say the biggest thing is I really just learned how to be myself. I feel like I would find myself kind of people pleasing a lot in conversations. So obviously you can't really grow connections with people if you're just kind of like not showing any of your personality. Like I was very closed off even after I transferred. I was very closed off. So I learned not to be as closed off and show my personality to people and I was like, "Wait, people actually like me for me. Like I can be myself." I've learned to definitely, not necessarily speak up, but just voice my opinion more. I would say I'm also more confident in myself, and I am not as just like nervous, and I'm not so embarrassed to like just simply exist anymore. And I don't know. I think in general I just have just become more confident and just really embrace like my hobbies and just really been like, yep, this is what I like and that's me. And if you don't like it, then that's your problem. So I would say like that's the biggest thing for me.
I'd say for me, it's very, very similar to what Kennedy said. I feel like I've really learned to accept my personality and accept all of my interests and like who I am as a person because that's what makes me who I am. I feel like before, I don't want to say I like was different or like was fake, but I did like, I feel like suppress some of my interests or like suppress part of my personality and everything. But I feel like through college, I learned to just like let it be known, like not hide it and everything, and just be who I am. People are gonna like you for like who you are, and if they're not, then they're just not worth it and they're not meant to be in your life and everything. So I feel like that's a big thing that I went through is just really, really learning what my interests are and like who I am as a person. And then another thing is just being comfortable with myself and like stepping outside of my comfort zone and doing things that I otherwise never would have done and just saying yes to things too. I feel like that's a big thing, just being open to new opportunities and change and everything.
And then next, we're gonna kind of discuss like the best and hardest parts of college outside of the classroom. I would say honestly, the best part of college outside the classroom is just all the free time, and which I know that is a very privileged take because I didn't necessarily have any like job slash internship responsibilities really until my like junior year of college. I did have like a desk resident hall job for like 2 weeks my sophomore year, but that was done immediately after 2 weeks. That was not for me. But just like I just love how much you could like truly build your schedule, which I guess is like technically still in the classroom. I don't know. I just really like the free time. And I don't know, I just loved that part truly, and now I just had all the time to do stuff. Worst part was the growing pains of being independent. There's really a lot of times where I had to go outside of my comfort zone, and while on the other side of it, I came out better. But during it, I was definitely very uncomfortable, and I hated every second of it.
I would say for my best ones, I definitely have to agree with Kennedy. The time, no, underrated how much free time you have. But to add on to another best thing, I would say it's just like all the different viewpoints and the different experiences, I would say, as a whole. I feel like my mind was opened up to a whole lot of different perspectives, and not necessarily like different viewpoints in the sense of like different ideology and stuff. Like, yes, that stuff, but more so just different points of view and different ways that people view the world. I think my mind was really, really opened up to that. And honestly, that's like a good thing because you can really like take that in and like, analyze things differently. I feel like that's like a good thing that college gives you is just different perspectives. And then the worst thing for me, or not the worst thing, the hardest part I would say for me was just being alone, independent in the sense of what Kennedy said of like, oh, like having to figure things out like on your own, like that kind of alone, like if my car broke down, like my dad's like an hour and a half away. Like, yes, he would come up and help me, but like, how helpful is that going to be in an hour and a half? If I get a flat tire, I'm not just going to sit there for an hour and a half waiting for him to come. And that's if he can come. But just like having to figure out how to do things and figure out different ways to get by on your own was definitely hard.
I just thought of like two things for best and like hardest while you're talking, but best, I honestly I really enjoyed the people I connected with during my senior year because I feel like this is the school year where I truly have felt like the most me and showing up truly as me. So it allowed me to just have like good conversations with people in class that I still like think about. Like I'm just happy about that. Like you just truly meet good people, and just being in a different part of Kentucky, I just really liked just learning the new vibes of this new city that's still in Kentucky, but it's like so different from my hometown, which I really liked. And it made me kind of realize, like, oh, I truly think I could live, somewhere else, not in Kentucky, but just like somewhere else and still like thrive. And then worse, I just thought of when Liz was talking about, she's far away. For me, I would say later in my years of college, specifically junior year and senior year, it was harder for me to be away from my friends and family more than it was my freshman year and sophomore year. I'm gonna be so honest. I did not really feel that really, to be honest. But junior and senior, it like really hit me like yeah, I did not like being away from home. I just really miss like my family and my friends a lot during these past 2 years. So that was like a really hard part.
I think side note, Kennedy hasn't like explained how far she was, like how far we were. I was an hour and a half from home. Kennedy was like 2 hours, was it Kennedy?
Yeah, I was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think.
But there was a time change, you guys. Like she was in the part of Kentucky that has a time change. Like at her school, she was in an hour behind, so she was in Central Time, and the rest of Kentucky's in Eastern Time. So she would lose time going back, but then she'd gain time coming back. Like, yeah, she was like in a whole other time zone. I think she underestimates how far she was.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I was really far away. And that's what I wanted when I transferred there. But then towards the end of college, I was just like, I want to be with my peoples again. Like, I just miss them so much. But now we're just going to talk about, just like any clubs, internships, heartbreaks, independent moments of college if we have any. We'll let Liz go first. She was more involved than me.
So clubs, I was involved in a couple different things. I was involved in like the Latino like office and everything, and in their mentorship program. And then I was also involved in a leadership organization, and I co-hosted a retreat, which was one of the things that like really impacted my college experience because it was a retreat that like was attended by like 100 students and like faculty and stuff, and I was like in charge of that. So that was like really, really cool. And then I was involved in like another kind of like a organization where they do a lot of like giving back to the university, and they get like basically like VIP invites to certain events and stuff. So that was really cool. And then I worked for housing and everything. So that was what I was involved in for the most part. Every now and like in the beginning of my college experience, I was involved in a couple other things, but they were things that like didn't see full fruition until the 4 years. So they're out of my mind. And then internships, I did a internship like coming to Frankfurt to the capital, and I was like paired with a representative, and I did things like that. And then heartbreaks, I laughed because there was no heartbreaks. There was no romantic heartbreaks in my 4 years. There was like, I feel like moments where my heart was like going through it, like in a friendship or something. There was friendships that ended, friendships that didn't see it through to graduation, like that kind of stuff, but there was no like romantic heartbreak. And then independence, definitely. I feel like I've always been a very independent person, but I feel like college made me more independent, like more independent in the sense that like I can get through it. I'll be fine on my own, you know.
So for me, clubs, yeah, your girl was not involved. I don't know. I'm not a club person. Now, I'm not gonna front. I did try a little bit. I did show up to this one club that was actually part of the reason why I wanted to come to Western, because they just had a lot more opportunities in clubs than Eastern did. And I went to the first meeting. It wasn't all that. Like, I don't know, it just didn't feel necessarily the most welcoming vibe. So I never showed up again. But yeah, that just clubs were just not my thing. In terms of internships, like I mentioned earlier, I had a job my sophomore year. It didn't last very long because, and then I, during my spring semester, junior year, I'm pretty sure, is when I got a job in the office. At the time, it was the basically the DEI office. It's a different name now, still exists surprisingly, but basically the DEI office. And I actually interviewed, didn't get it. Then I interviewed. Wait, no, because I got it my spring semester. So maybe I interviewed the semester before that. I don't know. I interviewed for it 2 times, and then I actually got it during my junior year. And basically, I just like made posters, revamped their website, made graphics that go around the business school. I did like a whole campaign this year, so that was that. It was a paid position in the beginning, but because WKU was like broke, there were budget cuts, so I ended up being turned into an unpaid internship. Which tip, don't do unpaid internships. The only reason I did it was for the experience at this time, because it was the only experience. But moving forward, I would never do an unpaid internship ever again. While I appreciate the experience and I love my bosses, it just is kind of like, I did all that work and like necessarily not anything to show for it because I didn't get paid for it. And two, it's like they have this idea that I created like my little baby, and then they just have it. You know what I mean? Again, with nothing to show for it. I mean, it's in my portfolio. But yeah, heartbreaks, that didn't happen. Me and dating were not a thing ever in college. Yeah, it's a sensitive topic, JK. I would say, if anything, my heart hurt if friends disappointed me. If that counts. And then independent, I mean, I feel like I learned the difference between, I always be like, yeah, I just like to be alone, but I learned the difference between like being like a lonely person and like being independent. And so yeah, I feel like that's all I have to say about independence.
And with that, we'll go on to the mini rapid fire. What was your favorite class, Kennedy?
Couldn't tell you, JK. I really liked my social media marketing class, and I really liked my market research class.
My favorite class was my freshman year, and in the moment, I hated the class. I was like, what is this? This is so hard for no reason. This teacher is so extra. But it was in international studies class. I think that's what it was called, was international studies, like intro to it. And it became my favorite class. Like I loved that class so much. And I loved the professor too. You know, even though in the moment I hated her, but it's okay.
And then next is worst grade. Ooh, my phone fell. Sorry if you heard that. Honestly, I'm gonna flex. My lowest, I've only gotten like A's and B's, but I will say this year I was scared that I was gonna have my first C ever. So we're gonna count that, even though it did end up being a B at the end of the day. It was for my marketing management capstone class. I've complained about this class and this professor before, but honestly, being graduated, I'm like, cool. You know, it wasn't that bad, but in the moment, it was that bad. So even though technically it was a B, it was a C for the longest. So we're gonna count that.
My worst grade was an F. I failed an exam and I failed it with the curve. It was in my constitutional law class and it was our first exam and everybody in the class failed. I'm pretty sure the first exam. Yeah, it was hard. And he like curved it and we all still failed. And then but from that, you guys, my grade like I ended up getting an A in the class, you know. I worked a miracle. I like I did so much extra credit in that class. Yeah. But my worst grade was an F. An F on the exam, not an F on the whole class. I didn't flunk out of the class, you guys. Just want to really emphasize that.
At first, I thought you meant the class, and I was like, oh, I do not remember that. Next is best meal on campus for WKU. Moe's. I love me some Moe's.
Einstein's. I loved Einstein's bagels. And then if we're going dining hall, the one thing the dining hall will always do right is their butter chicken. Yeah, I don't know what they be doing back there, but that stuff was fire.
Yeah, my dining hall, it was good my sophomore year. I don't know what happened after that, but I was grabbing that dining hall sophomore year and I loved when they had like soul food. It was really good. They had really good meals and then it truly went downhill. I don't know what happened, like I said, but they had really good food. And then next is weirdest professor moment.
I feel like I didn't have like a weird moment. There was like a professor or two. There was two professors where I was like, I don't know, I just felt like awkward like one on one with them. Like I didn't know like because there would be like professors that would like joke around in class, but then I'm just not that kind of like joking around person. And I don't know, it just felt awkward, but it wasn't like anything bad or like gross, you know.
Yeah, I didn't really have those either. There are obviously professors that I didn't like, and who I thought they acted weird in the sense of like I feel like they like love going on like a little power trip, like being rude to students. And so I would say the weirdest professor moment was I bit my tongue, was honestly my philosophy professor. My freshman year, he was definitely an interesting person. Did not like him. And I remember actually someone that we used to be friends with. Me and her would talk in college because we went to the same school at the time, obviously. And she had this same philosophy professor, and he's actually the reason I do not like philosophy because I'm like, ew, who could actually care this much about something? But she told me this story that I still think about sometimes, where we had to do presentations over like serious topics but tied into like philosophy people that we talked about in the class. So like for example, I had like the death penalty and we had to tie in like what would philosophers from back then think about, the death penalty today based on their thoughts. And basically the girl was like pulling like her slide up for the class and there's like a picture of like her and someone else in like short shorts or something, and the professor was like, ooh, and I was like, oh, that's weird. So that's something I could say. And mind you, I already didn't like him. So after hearing that story, I was like, oh, you're an interesting fella.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it did not happen to me, or in my class, but that still stands out. And then next, we're just gonna kind of get into some like biggest lessons slash takeaways from college. So, what did college really teach you, Liz, beyond the academics?
I feel like it really taught me to just I feel like college personally, like me as an individual, really shaped me in the sense of like I really got to know who I was, what I wanted, what my interests were, what my dislikes were. Like I know myself better than I did freshman year. Freshman year, I was like still going through like the transitions, and everything. But I feel like now I can confidently say like the things that I like and I don't like. So I feel like that is really important in college. I feel like the experiences and everything is like really what helped me with that. And then overall it just taught me that like it's gonna be okay. Like those moments that you think are like that class where you were struggling and you hated the professor, in the grand scheme of things, it's absolutely nothing. Like everything in the grand scheme of things is very minuscule and you're gonna get through it. You're gonna be okay. It's very like I feel like it's a era, I would say, or like an era because I can't think of other words, but it's a moment in your life where it is very pivotal in the sense of just like really coming to terms with like the world.
For me, college taught me one, who really matters in your life. During my whole college experience, I struggled with making friends. Just like no one would stick. Like there would be people I would talk to in class, and it's just like, but the friendship, quote unquote, never made it outside the classroom. I thought, you know, I would just really hang up like, what's wrong with me? But at the end of the day, like I still had people back in my hometown and like my hometown friends that still cared for me, and that's all that really matters. So just put more effort into like bettering those relationships. It also taught me, again, similar to Liz, just really about myself, what I like, how to find my voice, and oh, I was like, I remember another one, but I forgot it. Then I remembered it again, and I would say, okay, I don't want to say like it taught me this, but during college, I kind of like found my way back to faith in a way. I don't know how to explain this because I never felt out of faith. But basically, when I was really younger, I would go to church more regularly. And then just as I got older, we just stopped going less. And I never really grew up in a religious household. Like, I obviously believe in God, but I never was like, we're not the type of family where we're like praying before we eat, things like that. I'm not sitting there reading the Bible. But I feel like recently, like, college really taught me, it like put me through things where I found myself just naturally just kind of going back to God. And I feel like I've always, because I didn't raise up religious, I always kind of never felt tied necessarily to a certain religion within Christianity. Like, I do believe in God, and I've had personal experiences where I've really felt connected, but I've always have struggled in the sense of like basically like being a good Christian, blah blah blah. So I feel like college really gave me the space to really explore my relationship with God on my own, and I found myself leaning towards him more, and just not even in the bad times but even like in the good times, really just thinking about him. So that's something that college also like gave me the space to learn.
And now we're going to talk about some moments where we realized we were maturing. And I feel like for me, it's anytime I would like open up Instagram and see like people that I would follow from like back home that weren't pursuing college degrees and anything, and just seeing things that they were doing, and I'd be like I'm not missing out on that, like I'm not, like I'm okay like where I am, like I'm not missing out on like getting married and having children and like other stuff of just like going out and things like that. Like I wasn't missing out on that kind of stuff. And also just like throughout college, seeing, I feel like where I was working with in the dorms and everything, and I'd be in freshman buildings, seeing like freshmen like going out and like obviously like go out, like have fun and everything, but like as a senior seeing kind of stuff like that, I'd be like, dang, like I'd rather be at home in my dorm by 9 p.m. watching a movie, eating my snacks. Like I don't know, I feel like that was another like maturing moment, just seeing stuff and it just losing importance when I before might have given it more importance.
I couldn't think of a reason, so I'm just gonna steal Elizabeth's and be like, yep, that's the same for me. Especially the first part, just like seeing where people that we went to school with, where they're at now. Because I feel like sometimes when you're in the moment, it's hard to see the bigger picture. But then when you compare yourself to other people, not in like in a self-righteous way, but just in a way like, oh, like I'm actually like on a good path, I'm right where I need to be, and like I'm actually very mature, like I'm doing things good, like I'm not a childish person. So I would agree that would be the same for me.
Yes, I think it's just like those moments where like it just reaffirms like, okay, I'm okay. I'm doing good. I mean like yeah, like not in a condescending way to if you are getting married and you are having children, like you do you, but like it's like for me I'm like I'm okay not having that right now.
Yeah, like I feel like we're definitely living life like we should be at 21 years old and 22.
Yeah, that part. And then next up is just what's one thing that college taught you that you didn't expect to learn. For me, Kennedy kind of touched base on this, but for me, it was just really seeing what friends or like what I'm going to say in general, what relationships are actually important and we're going to stick along and are worth the time and everything. I feel like when I went into college, I never really expected to like lose touch with any of the previous relationships that I had prior to going into college. But obviously, like, we're maturing differently. We're in different environments. We're doing like all this different stuff. And there was friendships and relationships where like they just didn't see the end of my 4 years of college. Like I went into college with them, but I didn't come out of college with them. And then there's other friendships where like they're stronger than ever before. And like you really see, I feel like, and I didn't think that I would see that, just the difference in seeing like what relationships are really like worth your time and are going to be there, and then putting time into those. That was just something that I don't know, little naive freshman me didn't think that I would be like, me losing a friendship, losing a relationship. No, like we're great. Little did she know.
Yeah, my answer for this question is still going to be on the theme of friendship. I feel like my view in general of friendship has really changed over the past 4 years, even within the past year, to be honest. I feel like I, for the longest, have had the most simplest black and white view on what a friendship is. I'm like, you're either all in or we're not friends, but my view on that has definitely changed a whole bunch. I've kind of realized, like, yes, it is okay for long-term friendships to have their ebbs and flows. It's okay if you're closer to some people and you're not as close to other people. Like, that's literally okay. It's okay for surface level friendships and more deeper friendships. And I like a lot of why I thought friendships had to be so black and white is because when I was, just growing up, I always felt like, someone was my best friend, but I was never their best friend. No one likes to be likes to feel rejected in that way. And so I feel like I just have truly learned, like, I over college there are definitely some times in friendships where I felt like really hurt, and it's like I thought we were like really close. Like, I thought we were closer than we actually were. So I feel like college has really allowed me to learn, like, oh, like, it's okay when friendships change. Like, it's literally okay. Just focus your energy on the ones that are meant to be. Like, that is literally just life. Like, we're all changing, we're all going through things. Like, you can't expect someone else to carry out friendship the same way you do. Like, you cannot expect you from someone else. So that has really helped a lot. So yeah, college is just really, wait, I kind of read this question wrong. So I just didn't expect college to teach me the different ways a friendship really can be, because I always just thought it was so black and white, especially because while Liz, like, she was like, oh, like, I didn't go into college expecting not to be friends with some people. For me, I feel like I kind of had that experience before college. So the biggest thing that I didn't expect to learn was like, oh, friends that like you've had for so long, like that friendship can still change. So yeah, hopefully I answered that. So and now we're gonna last question for this little section is, what do you wish someone told you before you started college? And honestly, short and simple for me, I wish someone told me that it's okay if your college experience is not like the movies.
And to add to that, I would say every experience is different and you're gonna get through it. It's gonna be okay.
Heavy on the it's gonna be okay. And now, we kind of have already, like, throughout telling our experience, have like been giving little bits of advice, but I guess we can share like one thing for incoming students to do more of, and one thing less, like, don't do as much as whatever.
I would say for my do more of is do more of like scheduling a routine for yourself and like making time for, going on a walk or like working out or something like that. I feel like it's very easy to like put that off. But take care of your body physically too. And then I would say to do less of is don't like overdo it. Don't put too much on your plate. It's okay to like rot for a moment, like you don't have to be out 24/7 doing everything. So yeah, do less of putting too much on yourself.
And for me, I would say one thing to do more of is take those mental health days. I am such like a rule follower. Like, I am going to come to class every day, but truly there are points where like I genuinely cannot get up and bring myself to go to class. And then I did it, and I literally felt mentally so good. Obviously, do not, don't, like, take that and run with it, but take the time for your mental health seriously. You'll feel so much better. And one thing to do less of is, we are not going to keep not utilizing the resources on campus. This is something that I honestly did not realize the importance of, honestly, until like my last year of school. But genuinely, I will say I am lucky with what WKU offers. But truly, if your college has the resources, use them. We're not going to continue not using them. And we're going to like use LinkedIn. Really utilize LinkedIn. I know it can be annoying because it's like most of the time it's like just for like an assignment you have to make a LinkedIn. But once you really get into the groove of actually using it and seeing what it can do, it is really beneficial. It can help you stay connected with professors, guest speakers, da 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 da, and also go to lectures and stuff, like guest lectures, connect with speakers who come to your class, because you never know where that can lead you.
And then advice about classes, mental health, social life, etc., all the above. My advice for classes is schedule your classes based on the type of person you are. Like, don't schedule them at 8 a.m. if you're not a morning person. That's my biggest thing about classes. Go to office hours. It's okay to like go because they're literally sitting there. Like, professors have to be there. So might as well give them something to do. And then mental health, like Kennedy said, take those mental health days. Look into like what resources your school offers, because a lot of schools nowadays they have like free counseling services on campus. So take advantage of those. It's literally free. Like, need I say more? And then social life based, I would say like just go out there. I know it's super hard to go out there if you don't know anyone, but like go out there, especially like your freshman year, like nobody knows anybody but you guys. So you can go out there. It'll be really easy to like make friends or make connections, but just put yourself out there too.
Honestly, I don't have any big advice except stay organized and do not be a crappy group member. Trust me, your life will be way easier if you just, participate in your group and you're not a crappy group member.
That part. Don't be the person that submits everything 30 minutes before it's due, and you're basically giving the rest of your teammates a heart attack. Why would you do that even to yourself?
Exactly. Cut out the procrastination. Like, I understand it. I procrastinated a lot, but I got things done on time and in a appropriate manner. Just truly, like, honestly, the workload is not that bad if you space it out enough.
And then our little conclusions on our 4 years of college or 4 years of undergrad. And first off, it's just what are you most proud of? I'd say for me, like academically, I had like a pretty high GPA, like not to brag or anything, but I graduated with like pretty high honors and everything, like summa cum laude or whatever it's called. But academically, I'm really proud of my grades and everything. And then just in general, I feel like I've stuck true to who I am as a person. I've learned more about who I am, but I've really stuck true to who I am. I feel like I was never like a fake person.
For me, I would say academically, I'm proud of what I was able to achieve during my internship, because it was all very new and I just took the challenge to learn it. I'm proud of myself for getting better at presenting in the classroom and just doing better at just facing a challenge, not freaking out as much about it. The anxiety meds definitely do help. And then personally, I wouldn't even say like, I don't know, like just being more true to myself, I guess you can say. I was actually listening to a podcast a while ago and they're like, truly, like, growing up is just getting back to your inner child self. And I really have felt that the most within the most year, like the past year and a half. And I feel like I really have just been so open and loud about, like, my likes and dislikes and my hobbies and stuff. And I'm really just proud of myself for being more open, and I feel like I'm getting back to like the more not necessarily outgoing, just more back to like my more energetic childhood self, even though like I am still more shy and reserved compared to other people, but I don't see that as like a character flaw anymore, whereas I like saw that as a character flaw in the past. And then our last little question to end this off is, how do we feel about closing this chapter?
Como se dice, so many emotions. I'm glad to be done with my 4 years. Like my semester before I went abroad, I think senioritis really got me, and I was just like, I was so done. I needed a change of environment. I don't know why I'm doing this sign, but I needed a change of environment. I was ready to just be done. Like I feel like I served my time. I did what I had to do. I got what I got out of it, and my time was done. So I am glad, honestly, to be done. Right now I'm feeling uncertain, I would say, because I'm not sure like what the next steps for me are exactly. I've talked about this before a little bit, but like I don't really know what I'm doing right now. I don't know what I want to do next. But so there's like that uncertainty right now. But at the same time, like I have that uncertainty, but I'm so glad to be done with college for now. Even if I do go to like further school and everything, like honestly, that'd be new. Like it'd be cool. It'd be like a new page and everything, and that'd be exciting. But as for my 4 years, I'm so happy to be done with them. But it is like dang, like that's over, and now it's like real world next chapter. Even if it is like graduate school or like whatnot, it's like setting you up for like what's next. So bittersweet.
Yeah, for me, even though like I've discussed this whole time, the college experience wasn't the typical one for me. But honestly, like, I still enjoyed my 3 years at Western. We don't talk about Eastern. And we don't talk about Bruno. Um, I feel good about ending college. Like, I don't know. Like, I was definitely really excited. I'm like, all my hard work paid off. I feel like in a way I still haven't processed it because I still have more school to go. And honestly, I'm just kind of like in a enjoying summer, enjoying life period. I'm just enjoying being back home with my parents, being in my room. I miss being with my books and being like having my bed so much and just having my friends so close. And I'm just really just enjoying life, honestly, until this next chapter. And then, honestly, for me, I know people always say, like, oh, college is the best 4 years of your life. They say the same thing about high school. But for me, I always knew that, college wasn't going to be the best 4 years of my life. So, honestly, I feel like I'm feeling hopeful about the future. Like, I kind of really enjoy the freedom that, like, oh, like, I only have 1 more year of school and then I can literally do anything and go anywhere. Like, that's really exciting for me. Like, I'm excited to have, like, big girl money once I start a job after grad school and, like, really, really live life to the fullest. So, I'm honestly like excited, or not excited, but like I'm ready for that next challenge. I'm just really in that mindset where I'm just like, everything's gonna work out. I don't really have any fears. Like, all I can really focus on is life in the moment. And I'm honestly excited to see where life takes me and all my friends next. So, feel bittersweet because I enjoyed the vibes on campus, the people I met, the professors, everyone who's helped me along this journey. But I'm happy to be home and I'm excited for what's next.
And with that, that is the end of our little college recap, our thoughts, our feelings, all the emotions. And if you guys made it this far, this is one of our longer episodes, especially since we've been doing unedited episodes recently. So you're a real one if you did. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week on the Girls Lounge. Make sure that you're following us on all of our socials, that you're liking, that you're commenting, that you're giving us 5-star ratings on whatever it is you're watching us. You know what you need to do. So get to it. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.